Welcome back to a little bit of cheese. I'm your host, Cody Depius, and this is your daily bite-sized Wisconsin sports podcast. Yesterday, the Milwaukee Brewers dropping game 2 of the 3-game set to Philadelphia. 5-1 the final score there. It was a really nice start for Frankie Montas getting into it for Milwaukee. He went 5 2/3. Did give up 3 earned runs on 6 hits and 2 walks. He struck out 10. This was probably his last 3 or 4 starts have looked like this, and they've been very good. The final line, of course, not exactly what you want with the 3 earned runs, but through 5 innings was really, really, really solid. It was a 2-run home run in the 6th inning by Bryce Harper to make it 3-1 and to put the 3 earned runs on Frankie Montas. So he had 10 strikeouts that game. There's not much more that you can ask from a starting pitcher like that. And it's similar to what you saw from Aaron Savali yesterday. These are 2 pitchers that you brought in. You didn't have to give up all that much. Of course, we talked about it before for Frankie Montas. You give up Joey Weimer and Jacob Junis. Those are 2 guys. I don't know how much value either of them would have on this team right now. Of course, people, and myself included, I was a little bit concerned about what the loss of Jacob Junis would look like. But I think everything that you lost in Junis is now going to be replaced with a Colin Ray and a Joe Ross. Those 2 are pretty much taking over the same role that Junis had for Milwaukee. And Joey Weimer, if he's doing anything in Cincinnati, I haven't heard about it, and I don't really even care to look because he wasn't going to do anything in Milwaukee anyway. So Frankie Montas you get for almost no value at the end of it, but a really solid start once again. He's starting to string these along really nicely here. It's been about a month since he's really had a even halfway bad start. He's been really, really good ever since he got into Milwaukee, and that's just put to even further point once again. Savali and Montas, both of those guys, they are going to be pitching for Milwaukee when it gets into the playoffs, and this is going to be a playoff team, of course, that they faced yesterday in Philadelphia. And you're going to need a start like this from both of those guys, where Montas, and I think if you get into the playoffs, you have a bit more of a different mentality as to how you use your bullpen, where I think they would have been able to go to a different relief pitcher when it got to that 6th inning. You probably wouldn't have seen Frankie Montas throw to Bryce Harper. So maybe he doesn't have that home run if that's a playoff scenario, which of course, you want to say right now Milwaukee is playing like it's a playoff scenario because Milwaukee's looking to take one of those first 2 seeds in the National League to get that first round bye. But it's still not the playoffs. It's still the regular season. You still got a couple weeks left to go before you actually hit the playoffs. So you're just thinking about your bullpen as you go along. And Frankie Montas stayed out there. They trusted him to go get Harper, and Harper hitting the bomb. You saw a little bit of Aaron Ashby yesterday. You saw Yoel Pyamps. He struck out the side. He looked really sharp. He's going to be very valuable when we get down the stretch as well. But the big story, and I think the biggest takeaway here for the Brewers, they faced one of the best pitchers in the National League in Zach Wheeler. Wheeler went 7 innings pitched, only gave up 1 run. He struck out 6. He gave up just 4 hits through all those 7 innings. So this is where you don't think Milwaukee has the starting pitching as to what Philadelphia has here in Zach Wheeler. If you don't, and you want to go win a playoff series and make it deep into a playoffs, make a deep run, you're going to need to hit off of guys like this. You're going to need to hit off of Zach Wheeler. LA, that's a whole nother situation. We might talk about that, but they're really banged up in their starting rotation. I don't know where they're going to go. But with Philly, and you've seen it for 2 games now, Ranger Suarez was pitching in the All-Star game. He was one of the best pitchers in all the National League in the first half. He's had a rougher second half here, but he's still a really solid starting pitcher. Zach Wheeler is one of the best pitchers in the National League. I think he's going to take second in the Cy Young, and Milwaukee wasn't able to hit against him. And that's the reason that they lost this game. They can't get through a playoff series just scoring 1 run in ball games. And that's what happened here. Matt Strom and Jeff Hoffman came in for Philadelphia. Those are the 2 lockdown guys at the back of the bullpen. They shut him down. Matt Strom has a 2.03 ERA. Jeff Hoffman has a 1.73. So where you say Milwaukee has a dominant bullpen, Philly's got pretty much the same thing going on here. At least those last 2 guys, the setup guy and the closer, they're that good. And you're going to have to face these guys when it gets to the playoffs, or guys of this caliber. Maybe they don't run into Philadelphia specifically, but this is the caliber of pitching you're going to have to beat if you want to go win the World Series. And I'm not trying to overreact here. This is just one game. It is still the regular season, but this is the kind of level that Milwaukee needs to be at. And the reason why I am not a huge believer in them going too deep into the playoffs is strictly because of this. Zach Wheeler, you're going to face him. Ranger Suarez, they're able to get to him, but are they going to get to him again if they're to face again in October? And Aaron Nola, who the Brewers are going to have to face today in the rubber match, they're going to have to find a way to get to him, either get him out of the game early or score runs off him. That's how you win the playoff series. And Milwaukee was able to do that and to string together some solid starting pitching performances with a really solid bullpen. That's how they were able to go so deep in 2018, because Milwaukee doesn't have the starting pitching that's going to carry them. Maybe I'm going to be surprised, but Frankie Montas, he's got some really good stuff. It's not Zach Wheeler stuff. Same goes for Aaron Savali. Freddie Peralta has that kind of stuff, but he hasn't shown that kind of consistency. And Tobias Myers has had a really solid regular season where his peripherals don't look spectacular. They say that he should be giving up more runs than he is. And if you watch the games, you kind of understand that. He gives up a lot of hard hit balls. His defense helps him out a lot, which is where Milwaukee has an upper hand against a lot of these teams, is because they have a defense that is that much better. And they can go and save themselves by not having great starting pitching with a defense that is that good, but can it carry you through a playoff series? That's the biggest question. You got to have the pitching or the defense come from somewhere, and you got to be able to score the runs. And like I said, Milwaukee in game one, they were able to do it. They won a 6-2 ball game. They were able to get to Ranger Suarez, add on a couple against the bullpen as it got later into the game. But yesterday, they got down. It was tied 1-1 going into the sixth. You're going to see situations when it gets to the playoffs. It's going to be a tight game going into it. What if you give up a home run in the sixth inning? What if you got to go and face one of those studs when it gets into it, when it gets into the bullpen and it's a tight game? How do you persevere? How do you push through that? We're going to have to see what they kind of string together and what they come up with. But like I said, it's a whole nother level when it gets to the playoffs. You're starting to see them face these kind of caliber guys right now. You're getting a bit of foreshadowing. They're going to lose some games in the playoffs. Now it's how you bounce back. Do you come back and you win that series today? And as I said before, Aaron Nola, he has a 3.62 ERA. The peripherals are really good. He's been one of the best pitchers in the National League for a few years now. He's a certified guy. He's going to be facing Freddie Peralta, who has a 3.75 ERA, which you can look at those and they look pretty close. But what you expect, and probably what Philly expects from Nola too, you expect these guys to be pitching better. But I'm excited for this matchup tonight. It'll be on at 6:40. Some playoff foreshadowing. How can Milwaukee bounce back after losing a really tough game where they weren't able to put up a lot of runs? The pitching did well. No one really got beat up that bad. As I said, Montas struck out 10. That's what you got to do when you get to the playoffs. You got to strike out guys in these really good lineups. And Philly has one of those juggernaut lineups. They got a lot of pieces. They're really deep up and down throughout that order. And that's why they have the best record in all of baseball. So Milwaukee just trying to compete, and they're going to try to take that series when they get into it tonight. 6:40 will be the first pitch. Aaron Nola against Freddie Peralta.